Hey everyone, it's me. I just want to say hi. This is my second attempt at making this video. My first attempt was kind of long-winded, even more so than usual, but it's because I hadn't slept and I work nights, so I was really running on like minimal sleep. So I decided to scrap that video, take a nap, collect my thoughts, and try again. So this is take number 2. So anyway, this is my Glee-cap for season 4, episode 6, called GLEASE. So obviously this is where they take on the musical Grease, hence GLEASE. I always find it amusing how they keep mashing up stuff to make new words, and I guess part of it is because there's so many ships and they have launched so many different names. Britana, Finchel, Tyke, Puckleberry. That's pretty much one of the funnier ones. So I guess that's why they called it GLEASE. Obviously, Glee plus Grease equals GLEASE. So anyway, I actually took notes this time in the hope. Look, there's like pages and pages of notes. In order to keep me on track, which is difficult since I go off on a zillion tangents. And I tried to think of the best way to recap this episode, because usually I go couple by couple, but as we all know in the breakup, they pretty much broke up every single couple. So I think the best way to go through it would be just plot-wise, purely, and then at the end I could focus on Britana, because of course that's my one true pairing. So here we go. Right off the bat, I believe the beginning is like Mr. Schue getting ready to tell all the kids that he's going to Washington. And right away, like he says he has bad news, and like Brittany says Adele's dead, in that deadpan voice that Heather does to play Brittany, which is hysterical. So I think when I heard that off the bat, I was excited because I felt like, yay, Brittany's getting a one-liner. Let's see where this goes. And then they had Tina talk, like completely blow up, like say how pissed she was and blah blah blah. Especially when we find out that Mr. Schue has tapped Finn. He tells them that Finn's gonna take over in his absence. It's like, what the fuck, exactly. So that's what I thought. Like, how can you let this guy, who literally was just a high school student 6 months ago, take over Glee? And honestly, I never thought that Glee was an extracurricular activity because they always made it seem like it was a class. I mean, I know that Will supposedly is a Spanish teacher, but they made it seem like the kids would meet in the middle of school, I guess. And that's not how it was in my high school, at least. If we had I mean, it was, but like, it was run by teachers. It wasn't run by like somebody on the outside. So, I mean, technically speaking, Finn is on the outside. He already graduated from William McKinley. McKinley. So, I understand the reason why they do this. I mean, I don't know if Matt Morrison is going to shoot a movie or needs a break or whatever the purpose of him being going to Washington to fight for arts, then the arts matter, which they do. But I don't know what's the purpose of this plot device. Obviously, like, I mean, I guess they realize that this cast is so freaking big, and they don't. Most people honestly don't care much about Will and Emma, especially now that we know that they're together and they're engaged. Like their storyline's pretty much wrapped up, and he has been an ineffectual teacher ever since season 1, to be quite honest, and a mentor. So, you know, I get maybe these are reasons why they're making this shift happen. And also, they need to give Finn some kind of role. Since he's not going to be with Rachel in New York and he feels like he's a loser, this will boost up his confidence and whatever, since he needs something to do. So that's my idea as to why Will is leaving and Finn is taking over the Glee Club. Apparently, till like even after sectionals, which means he won't be back until, in theory, the Christmas episode. Um, so anyway, um, so going further, so I was excited how Tina actually like exclaimed like that's just wrong, and then on top of that, like Sue comes in and like was like basically like how the heck can you let, like, to Figgins, of course, how can you let, she throws insults um at Finn, basically being like, how can you let this guy run Glee while you're gone in Washington, and I pretty much have had a 2 year, truce called with the Glee Club, but if you let him run it, like, you know, this is all at war again, basically. Um, and I think the funniest one that she said to Finn was baloney the gravy clown. I did write that, and I was like, God, that's hysterical, really hysterical. So anyway, so after that little scene, basically Figgins is like, oh no, well, actually, since Glee is not really like a subject, he doesn't really need to have credentials. So I find this a load of malarkey, honestly. It's like, well, I mean, I know why they have to say it because they have to make it a reason for Finn to be at the school, like for him to be there all the time. That's the reason, as opposed to the other kids who just keep flying in and out. Like, like Lima, Ohio is like some major bustling metropolis, and it's like they could easily get flights in and out of Lima. I understand this is a Glee first, and we suspend reality, obviously, but sometimes it just makes me, scratch my head. But so then after this, we cut over to Yada, and we see Rachel and Kurt stretching out on the dance floor of Cassandra July's class, I guess. And so I just wanted to make a comment that I've been noticing Rachel's look a lot more, and I think obviously it has to do a lot with they're trying to distance her from her former self in uh, high school. They've done that with all the kids. Hold on, I'm sorry, my phone is like, oh, huh. Anyway, sorry about that. Where was I? Oh, talking about Rachel. I've talked about this, I think, before when they're trying to separate the kids who graduated versus the kids who are still up in McKinley. They're separating them physically by the way that they're dressing them. And so I have to say that Leah Michelle, I think she was always pretty. But the way that they're making her dress now and her stylist or whoever is doing this on Glee has done an amazing job because she looks older, but not that. I mean, they all look pretty youthful. You know, some of them, have aged, who look age appropriate, others don't. So, the fact that we're supposed to believe that Rachel is an 18-year-old, um, Leah looks young anyway, and she is only like, what, 25 going on 26. So, but the fact that they've vamped up her wardrobe, comparatively speaking, obviously she has bangs now, her hair's longer, she has highlights in them, and I mean, just looking, I think it was crazy to think about when they had a snippet of season one, towards the beginning, because they had already sang "You're the One That I Want." Rachel and Finn did, which we got to see a mini flashback of, which I completely forgot that they did. And you get to see how much they've changed, especially Kurt. I think Chris Colfer wasn't done going through puberty yet. He was a late bloomer, and look at him now. So, you know, just to show you, like, freaking Leah Michelle, you're hot. Like, honestly, wow. Like, I saw that today. It wasn't even, I saw this more you being sexy in this episode than I saw you being sexy when you actually had to be sexy in Britney 2.0. Okay. So I got excited because they had Brody and Rachel together, which I feel right now they're trying to push obviously for a triangle between Brody, Finn, and Rachel, I guess. Honestly, I'd obviously love it that if they had freaking Quinn in there too, but apparently, Yale does not allow their students to leave anytime they want. This is why we haven't heard any mention of Quinn at all. Um, which just makes me laugh. So anyway, this little plot sequence that we have going on, I believe, is here at this point, if I'm getting this right, is she's in this dance class, and then Cassandra July says she asked upperclassmen to come help with some dance number. I wasn't really paying attention here. And then the class all of a sudden lets out, and like, you know, where the fuck? I feel like, sorry. Okay, so anyway, so basically the rest of the class leaves, and then or if this is begin no, this is I think the beginning. I can't remember, but at any rate, basically Cassandra offers her airline JetBlue miles to Rachel because they know that the Grease is being put on by the Glee Club this coming weekend in Lima, and they are thinking of going, but they think it's a bad idea. Um, I feel like I just jumped ahead like a zillion spots, so just hold on one second. Oh, here I did. So sorry. Sorry for being out of sequence, but this is what it is. Um, oh, because they were on the floor stretching, and then Kurt got a Grease update from Tina. Yay, another second mention about Tina. So Cassandra Jolie comes up and calls Rachel Schwimmer, which I think is another hysterical Friends reference. If you are not aware, the reason why Rachel got named Rachel is because her two dads loved Rachel from Friends. So the fact that Cassandra Jolie is calling her Schwimmer, who is the one who Rachel eventually ends up with in Friends, it's just another inside story joke thing. But anyway, um, she said she is basically encouraging Kurt and Rachel to go home to get closure because, Kurt basically explains how his ex and her ex are in Lima and they're running the Glee, like they're going to be producing Grease or whatever. And I just love to say like Kurt is such a hero to me because he just says it like without thinking so nonchalantly, like, well, my ex-boyfriend and her ex-boyfriend, and just keeps going on and on. I hope that there'll be one day when I can feel as free to talk about my sexuality and mention a girlfriend who I obviously don't have right now. But anyway, like I said, this show has given me so much strength sometimes that it makes me almost wipe the slate clean when they do dumbass things like last week's episode. Um, Okay, so Cassandra talks about her JetBlue miles because basically they're talking about like some insane passenger that's they've had stories on JetBlue of people like going bonkers and flight attendants going bonkers. So they just said basically she lost control, has all these airline miles, she's bad from JetBlue. Um, so yeah, there's that. So I'm gonna cut back because I feel like hold on one second. Page one is done. Okay. So, it's in the midst of this, this is so old in the beginning of the episode. We see that Tina really is the costume designer. We got a glimpse of that last year, remember, when she had the whole carrying bolts of fabric and then walking into a fountain and having the whole, thinking she was Rachel and everybody's roles are switched. So apparently this is her role, has been her role, to be the costume designer or whatever. Um, and so we get to see some of the outfits she supposedly designed. And Brittany says her second one-liner, which is hysterical. So they're all talk. Sugar is supposed to be Frenchy, and then who's Brittany supposed to be? Cha Cha, I guess. And so they're wearing their outfits that supposedly Tina had created for them, and then Tina's helping Marley get into her Sandra D, one of her Sandra D outfits. Um, So I mean, Brittany actually says, "I promise I won't pee on it because it's so pretty." Like, hi, that's hysterical. So then Kitty comes in, and she is just, spitting fire and angry words out of her mouth. And at this point, like, I kind of feel like it's like Sue, like I can take it to a certain extent, but there's a point where it just comes straight out offensive. And no, I thought anything that comes out of Kitty's mouth is just racist and offensive, and it's like not even worth the laugh that it's trying to get the punchline. Okay, she called Tina a Harajuku girl, which I kind of was like, oh, haha, but then I'm like, that's freaking racist. And then we see Tina and her trying to struggle to get um, her outfit together. And then we see kind of the backstory, the reason why Marley's having such a difficult time fitting into her clothes is because Kitty is like freaking like um, rehemming them without anybody knowing and making them seem fit tighter, making them smaller than, what Tina had intended and how she measured her. So this is obviously the part of the body image storyline that Ryan has been talking about wanting to do. They have touched on body image before. If you recall in season one, when Kurt and Mercedes joined the Cheerios because they felt like they weren't being treated like stars, and Rachel was getting all the spotlight, they joined the Cheerios. And Coach was saying that, Mercedes had to lose a certain amount of weight, otherwise she'd get cut from the team. And so, you know, Mercedes realized she wanted to like just love herself for who she was, which meant they sang Christina Aguilera's song "Beautiful." And so they did touch on weight issues then, and now they actually spent this whole episode talking it in more detail. So they're going through Marley at this point. And I guess it makes sense because her mother is extremely obese and overweight. It was one of the reasons why they left her other school because she was being ridiculed by the other kids. So it's an easy thread to understand why they would pick Marley to be the one with the body image issues, I guess. Um, so we get a look at Marley's mom again, and she's just, on par, I think, with Michael Malley's performance as Kurt's dad, just being wonderful and accepting. And, she said, because Kitty brings up, well, maybe it's your genetics, basically saying. So, once the seed is planted in your head, you kind of obsess over it, and that's what Marley's doing. So, Marley's mom, which I just don't know her name, but Marley's mom says, I raised the star. And, because I guess Marley asked about like when did her mom basically get overweight to the point she is now, or what triggered it. So then Marley's mom goes into the whole, well, I was with your dad, and then we had you, and I thought that would fix all my problems, but it didn't. So she kind of used food as a coping mechanism and stuff like that. So it just makes Marley worry. I don't mean to cut what I'm talking about, but I just wanted to mention I usually like to do this. I like to see who actually wrote the episode and directed it because then I could figure out um, how it basically is a foreshadowing of how well this episode's going to be or how much it's going to suck. So obviously, in my opinion, if Matt Hodgson wrote the episode, it'll suck. As see, I Kissed a Girl from last year. But the actual writer of this episode is a producer on Glee. His name is Roberto Aguirre Sacasa. So he's one of the producers of Glee. He's there every week, and he actually wrote this episode. And then the actual director is a person named Michael Uppendahl, who I have never seen be a director yet. So this two pairing, whoever these people are, I think they did a great job in interweaving the music from Grease into like the entire story. It was more fluid, in my opinion, compared to previous episodes, especially when they do tribute episodes like this. So two thumbs up for you guys. I think you did a great job. Um, so anyway, Finn decides to walk into the teacher's lounge now because now that he's allowed to teach Glee, quote unquote, he should be allowed in the freaking teacher's lounge, right? So then Sue is pretty much just spewing more of what the entire fandom thinks, especially the Britana fandom, I think. I feel like these writers went to Tumblr and basically just said, let's figure out every single angry thing these lesbians and people who love Britney and Santana, because I'm sure they're allies too. Straight people love Britney and Santana too, not just lesbians. But I mean, obviously the majority of us are lesbians. But at any rate, like I feel like they literally could have taken stuff verbatim from what people have been saying and given it to Sue to say, because a lot of it I've heard, or at least it's what I thought personally. So I loved Sue in this episode. Um, I love Jane Lynch, yes, but sometimes I find the character of Sue has become such a caricature. They really quite don't know what to do with her. Like after season one, um, and like she got all the accolades and she won her Emmy. It's kind of like, well, are we really gonna make her mean forever? So they started to do other things. So there's that. Okay, so then basically she tells Finn, well, you brought this war onto yourself because now that you're gonna freaking lead the choir, I booked the auditorium forever. So you need to go find a new place to audition to practice for your stupid musical. So which ends up them being in um, Bert's Bert Hummel's auto body shop where Finn has been working, and they do the first musical number, which is Grease Lightning. Um, Finn and Artie, which makes me happy that they do remember that Artie is also supposedly directing this musical too, not just Finn. They're calling it like a method acting, method rehearsal, and so I thought it was a cute, rendition song or whatever. The actual remembering the actual movie was coming back to me when I saw, the musical numbers they put on. And so the only thing I could really talk about remarkable about that is that I really miss Mike Chan dancing. He just steals the spotlight. I love that they put him front and center, and he just draws the attention towards him. I thought that new kid Ryder Lynn or whatever he is, like I was surprised at his acting or his ability to sing. Like I said, I didn't really like him on the Glee project. I thought he was kind of a nondescript kind of like didn't really have bring anything to the table, but he actually surprised me. I think I would have preferred seeing um Jake Puckerman though. I think he has more of the bad boy in him, but this kid did pretty good, and so they're setting up Jake for something else, obviously. Um, I thought Artie was adorable with his haircut. Like they all signed them up as greasers, obviously, because they're supposed to be part of the is it the Thunderbirds, I guess. Um, so yeah. So then I talk about the whole. I already talked about this. I went out of order. Oh, so Kurt says one of my favorite lines in the whole episode, because Cassandra July talking about they need closure for them for to get over their exes, and then Rachel keeps trying to say no, 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 I'm over Finn, I'm over Finn, and then Kurt looks at her and she's like, yeah, right. I've been living off Ambien and The Notebook. Hysterical. Like, yes, The Notebook is like my favorite romantic comedy of all, not romantic. That's not even a comedy, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. Okay, so there's that. So the next scene that we get is Kitty has invited all of the girls to her house for a sleepover. Um, because she says that it's really hard for me now to flesh out because I feel like they're starting to give us bits and pieces of Kitty's actual personality. So it's hard for me to figure out. I'm trying to figure out right now if she was being sincere when she said people just assume that I'm busy because I'm not even that I'm popular, but that she's insane. She's like religiously insane. But she's always free on Saturday night, so she invites the girls over. So I feel like she has like not even redeemed, but we're starting to see cracks in her armor, okay? So the next scene we see is her explaining to Marley, like, trying to, like, buddy up with her and being like, well, not even apologize, but be like, oh, well, like, kind of taking her under her wing, because it looks like Marley has a deer in headlights kind of look about her, like, such a, innocent view of the world, and Kitty has this, like, insane, crazy, religious zealot view of this world. So anyway, she is explaining to Marley all her trophies, and the funniest one she said was apparently there was some kind of trophy or picture of a horse, I'm assuming, and she goes, I rode him for 5 years until he broke my hymen. That's pretty funny. So then, Frenchie, well, Sugar comes in, who's portraying Frenchie, comes in with a chocolate cake, and they break out into, like, that song, Look at Me, I'm Sandra D. Um, you know, so that was really cute, that little breadroom scene that we got of them having a sleepover, and they were already pretty much, you could tell the characters, they were playing the characters. It was really cute. Um, I love how they all bring in these horribly fattening snacks, like freaking Brittany's holding her orange soda again, which is she was carrying orange soda when she did Brittany 2.0, the debacle of the episode, like when she like spiraled downward and hit rock bottom and had Cheetos on the floor. She was sipping orange soda off of a bottle. And then they bring in like Krispy Kreme and pizza, like everything you want to have at a sleepover. You don't want anything healthy at a sleepover. So when Marley realizes that there's nothing healthy of the food that they brought. She asks them that. And then Kitty basically brings her to her bathroom and is like, well, there's nothing that these two fingers can't cure. And it's like, I was kind of shocked at how upfront they were basically throwing bulimia in this as a, you know, I mean, yeah, as a, for, I mean, to advance the plot of the whole body image thing. And then she basically leaves her in the bathroom to contemplate whether she should do it or not, and then she breaks out in the whole, I'm Sandra D. So this is the first time we get to see Kitty sing, okay? Well, because I feel like in her audition for Neon Tree, she was kind of the background to Jake, and just, Jake was really the one who won. I mean, they were both trying out for the main roles, but that song featured Jake more than her. So I think I've mentioned before that Becca Tobin has, as far as I've heard, has performed on Broadway. So she can see that in some of the notes that she belts and the way that she acts, like she definitely has that professional level to her. Um, I think I just still can't get over the fact that she just blatantly looks not like, a sophomore or junior in high school. Her face just looks older. So it throws me off whenever I see her. Like I can't really picture her as being, the new Quinn. So if she's supposed to be what, a sophomore, junior then? Because I think the aim was to try to make all these kids who are filling in the roles sophomores. So if Glee manages to make it past the season, they have a good 3 years with these kids. Because as we all know, the other rest of the seniors are graduating this year. So anyway, there are a couple of lines that get said in this sequence. When Marley's trying to be like, I need some healthy food, Brittany says, this is Brittany one-liner number 3. She goes, well, you could eat Kleenex because they taste like clouds. So that makes you honestly think that Brittany has actually eaten Kleenex and thinks that they taste like clouds. Um, Again, brilliant Heather Morris, brilliant. The other line that made me upset actually was Kitty. I mean, I understand this is trying to be like a public service announcement as to why you should not have an eating disorder. Like this is the point they're trying to make with this whole eating disorder body image line right now. But the fact that Kitty actually says bulimia is like, you have to love yourself enough to binge and purge. Like, I just think that sends the wrong message. A lot of people do watch this show. A lot of young girls watch this show. And if, their parents aren't there watching it with them, and I don't really think that writer does a great job of, explaining why that's bad. He does, but it's not the full conversation. I think a lot of girls will start trying to do this, and I feel like it kind of backfired. Instead of trying to like not condone binging and purging, by just showing, like, giving the impression of what it is. If like, you know, I mean, some girls don't know what it is, or like I just feel like, first of all, they're making a skinny girl, which I mean, again, I know that skinny girls have body image, big girls have body issues, But the fact that they're taking somebody who's probably a size 2 and make her think that she's fat by like changing the waistline and stuff, like I just think it's they needed to like be more conscious of the way that they're presenting this storyline, I think, because it is a very powerful one. It is one that happens all the time still. This is an eating disorder, that people die from every year. And it's serious, like just as much as when they tackled alcohol, underage drinking and sex and all that. So I don't know. They make it seem like they wrapped it up in a nice bow, and now Marley has no more body image issues after the end of this episode. So we'll see how they do with that. Anyway, the other note that I had about this is that I love that Tina is wearing an adorable panda hat. I don't know if any of you saw that. You probably did. Um, so pandas have a pretty. Sorry, I'm like It's I'm not wasted, but it's a Friday night. I have nothing to do. I'm off, and it's raining in LA. So I'm gonna have a little cute little Cornita extra. It's a tiny one. It's only 7 ounces, so whatever. Um, so Panda, first of all, Brittany's usually the one who wears the crazy ass hats. So the fact that Tina is wearing one makes me excited. The fact that Tina is even in the background of these episodes, this whole episode makes me excited. She's there, she's dancing, she's saying some lines, yay, Tina, so excited. Um, and so the panda hat just made me automatically think of when right before Santana sang Songbird to Brittany, and Brittany says, "Oh, sad panda." I'm like a sad little panda. So Tina's wearing that hat on her head. It makes me just think, "Oh, that's adorable." And then Himo does her freaking high leg kick at the end. The funniest one is when like freaking Sugar is standing on her head, and then Kitty splits her legs for some reason, and then you see like Sugar like booty shake. That was hysterical. Like you could even see like Heather was laughing at that. So that was the end of the, Marley comes out and realizes that Kitty's making fun of her because she was wearing like a dark wig and a newsboy cap and whatever. Excuse me. So then the next part of this episode is important because it entails Santana. So basically we find out that we meet Wade's parents, and that for his safety, his parents are pulling him out of the musical. It's not that they don't accept him for who he is, and they do accept him for who he is. Being cross-gendered or cross-dresser, whether that means he's transgendered or not. I think it does mean that he's transgendered. He's just working through it right now, and the way that he can understand it the most is in wearing women's clothing. And so basically, they say at the point that they used to live in Chicago, where they were more open there, but that they recognize Lima as a smaller town, and they don't want him to be subjected to any abuse. So then we've come to find out that he was being bullied by the jocks, which is very reminiscent of Kurt being bullied by the jocks. So, um, so Sue kind of takes the stand like, she was Kurt's champion, and, tried to protect him when he was being bullied, and that led to Kurt being, going away to Dalton Academy. So, I think it's kind of a dual purpose. Yes, Sue gets to stand up for gay rights, and show how accepting she is, but at the same time, she knows if they don't have Rizzo, how could they put on the show, right? So, of course, who's naturally Rizzo? It's going to be Santana. Um, so so this is one of the few Britana interactions that we get in this episode. Like actually, at least they're in the same room together. So because literally Sue says basically like, well, you need to go find a Rizzo, and apparently the timeline is that opening night is tomorrow. Um, so then Artie makes the point, well, how are you going to be able to do this role? Like we literally are starting tomorrow. And she goes, I've known it by heart since I was 1. So the thing that I just find the most adorable is the look on Britney's face. Like, that is how you look, or at least I think you should look when, like, the person you love the most in this whole world is in a room. Like, she just looks like she's, like, head over heels in love still with Santana. And Santana kind of looks at her, like, kind of shies away, but, still acknowledges her. And the best one, I think, is Sugar. I love all the Sugar and Brittany interaction they have in this episode. Um, when they were in what's her name's bedroom, Kitty's bedroom, they showed up in both of their outfits together. I just think it's super adorable. I don't know what the mashup name for their characters are, but Heather and Vanessa Lengi's off camera, are pretty close friends. If you guys watched the Glee on Fox when they did last year the senior superlatives, basically, like most likely to read or most smartest, blah 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 blah. Basically, Heather and Vanessa would name each other throughout the whole thing. It was really kind of adorable and cute. And then when Heather was on David Letterman's show, her and Vanessa did a little video for Dave. So their friendship is, and when they were on hiatus, they went to Mexico together with a bunch of other people from the cast. Um, so they're really close friends, so you can see that on the screen. The other side note to that is that in the fandom, a lot of people believe that Sugar Mata is Britney and Santana's love child from the future. It's a pretty crazy thing to think about, but if you look at Vanessa Lengi's or Sugar, she kind of looks like she can be. And to that end, I think it was Vanessa who even tweeted a picture of said like me and my mom's, and there's this adorable picture of like, um, well, I'm gonna just call them the actor names because they're playing themselves. So Brittany or Heather and Santana Naya look like they're cradling Vanessa Sugar. And it's the most adorable picture. So they are fully aware that people believe that Sugar is their love child. So the look on Sugar's face is like, yay, my moms could be together again. Sort of like Back to the Future kind of a thing, which is exactly the premise of what Sugar Mana believing that she's their love child is. That the point of her to be there is to get her moms back together. It's kind of a whole crazy plot line. You could look it up on fanfiction.net and find it. It's pretty well documented. So anyway, Santana shows up in another hot little number. Like, oh god, my whole life gets better when Santana's are in these episodes because it just goes to show how much she's grown as a character, like how much of a game changer she is in these episodes. I mean, yes, I'm like freaking in love with her, but I think just her character just brings so much to the show, and it's just crazy to think where she's come from season one to now. Um, and then we have apparently Tina was supposed to fill the role of Rizzo because she's all dressed in, seeing how she could think she could manage the lines, but she won't have to hold the script. And then Finn goes and like bursts her bubble, and she goes, "Well, actually, I called Santana, and Santana's gonna be Rizzo." And Tina's like fucking pissed. Looks at Santana, and Santana almost looks sad, but at the same time, not so sad because she felt like this is one of those roles she was born to play. Again, I'm just happy that freaking Tina. This is the most and Tina's gotten ever, even more so than her one episode in like there were like very small episodes that they centered around her, not even. So I'm happy that we're seeing more of Tina in this episode. So the next scene we get is that it's opening night now, so Kurt and Rachel are wandering the halls of McKinley, reminiscing, which honestly I find hysterical because the way that they act like they've graduated like 10 years ago. Honeys, it was like 6 months ago. They act like, I mean, I guess they're really trying to show the point, like now that Kurt and Rachel really have their own lives outside of, McKinley, Glee, Ohio. They're separating that more and more, separating all of the seniors more and more, quote unquote. And then we get to see Mercedes walk through because she was supposedly their vocal coach, but literally we only got to see Mercedes for that interaction. Like, what the fuck? I don't get it. I mean, I know this cast is huge and they can't feature everyone, but the fact that they completely ignored that Sam and Mercedes had something going on, so it just was believed they had a fling twice, it didn't mean anything to either of them. I find it hard to believe because all Mercedes wanted was to have a boyfriend forever, and then she got Sam, and now she's whatever. So anyway, the other thing I find amusing is that they keep calling the new kids the kids, when actually I still just call all of them the kids. So she says, life is crazy at UCLA taking classes, and trying to get work as a backup singer. And then Pucker keeps asking her for numbers for girls. Um, on a side note, I think that Amber looks amazing. She's lost a lot of weight. She just looks, just beautiful and gorgeous, and I love that she just looks amazing. Then the next thing we see is Kurt and Blaine, and then Rachel and Finn end up all in the hallway together, which is like just beyond awkward. Because if you could think back, there's a lot of history between the four of them. I think the last time we saw all four of them was when, I mean, just the four of them as is, was when Blaine got the rock thrown in his eye and they were singing "Bed" to him to make him feel better. So now we see them, all four of them again, and just awkward, awkward, awkward. Like it should be awkward. So there's that. Um, so the first number that they pull out is Beauty School Dropout. I don't remember. I think Blaine is playing the role of some angel because he's wearing like all white, and it's focused on Frenchie because So we still haven't heard Sugar really sing. Apparently, they just think that she sings off key. Which I don't even know if that's really true because if you know Vanessa Lengi, she was on a TV show called American Dreams. If you don't know what that is, you can look it up. I really enjoyed watching it. American Dreams was a show that was based on American Bandstand, and I believe it was taped in, I'd like to say Baltimore or Philly. I know it was on maybe for like a season or two. It could also be seen maybe as a precursor to the show because it integrated Dick Clark's American Bandstand into the premise of the show. So anyway, Vanessa Lengi's played the best friend of the one of the lead characters, Brittany Snow, who's now has a really great movie career. She got her start, her big break in that show, and Vanessa Lengi also was in that show. So she does have some kind of musical background, but they just really haven't. They just make us assume that Sugar can't sing. So she doesn't really need to sing this little sequence. She just has to lie there and look at the teen angel, which is Blaine, and just fawn all over him. The cute thing about this, though, is that we did see little Britana moments, if you want to call them that. You just have to look for them. Because if you notice, every time the dancers, they have the rollers in their hair and they look really cute. It was all the girls. Um, every time they had like touching moments or hands, it was always Britney's hand to Santana's hand. You could tell by the color, skin color, and they were smiling. So we did see that sort of. Um, so then, obviously we're in the midst of them putting on the show. So then, we see that Marley again is freaking out because her dress or outfit isn't fitting again. And so Kitty basically goes over to her and puts two fingers up and goes like Scout's honor. So the next scene we see is her like basically about to try to throw up. And then out of nowhere, like a knight in shining armor, a rider comes into the women's room looking for her. It catches her about to do it, pulls her out, and tries to explain that he had a cousin who, did all that laxatives and like he basically shit on himself. Um, he basically shit himself, you know. Basically, I mean, yes, that's kind of funny, but it goes to show. At least I'm glad that they mentioned the fact that boys, can have body image issues too. It's a huge issue, especially when they have to deal with like weight class. For example, in wrestling, it's rampant there. So I am impressed that they did manage to bring that up. But basically, he kind of says, "Well, I don't want to kiss a Sandy who has vomit on her breath." So then there's that. So I'm just gonna wrap up the whole Marley Jake Ryder thing. So then we get to see her all dressed up. I'm cutting ahead. Because this is fucking ridiculous. I'm trying to keep on track and looking at the time. It's like I didn't want to keep talking for this long, and well, whatever. Well, we're almost done, I think. Oh, shit. So anyway, the last scene, in front of the Shake Sugar Shack or whatever, when they sing "You're the One I Want," we see them in the get up that Rachel had. Remember when she was trying to be sexy, when Sex Up Finn, you know, she had the whole like black like top tight pants, and that's the outfit that Marley's in. They leaked those pictures before, and that's what they're going to be wearing for the final number. So then, you know, she kind of still looks like she's still uncertain if she looks okay, and Ryder looks like he's about to like like ejaculate on himself. That she's still hot, basically. And he reassures her, of course, by kissing her, and then Jake sees it in the background and turns away. So now that has turned into some kind of quadrangle, if you want to think about it, because you have Marley here, who kind of likes Jake, and now this Ryder kid is there, and then Kitty was with Jake, and still obviously wants him back. So there's that. That's all I have to say about that. Um, I think I'll save Santana's number for when I'm talking about Britana at the end. I'll just try to finish up the rest of this episode. Um, 1 second. blah 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 blah. So Santana gets her, gets to sing a Rizzo number. I'll talk about that in greater detail after I'm finished up this. So at the end of that, we get to see Mike and Tina get an interaction together, which just makes me that much happier because oh my god, yes, because last episode they claimed that Tina was too pissed to talk to Mike and they just gave her the role of Jan. So Mike comes up to her and says, maybe it was too premature that we decided to break up because I miss you. And then Tina kind of stops and she goes, basically says like, you tested who I am when I think she said that he was the one who broke it off with her. And so she goes, and she's liking who she is now, which is what we got to see for the whole episode. We see someone who's a little bit more liberated, more independent, more willing to speak her mind. At least that's the impression I got of Tina. Her dressing is much better. She doesn't look like some mod girl out of London. She's getting styled much better. Jenna's a beautiful girl, so I'm glad that they're figuring like they're still trying to flesh out her role, I think, or what she's gonna be. I feel like I've talked about this with my cousin at length that they usually don't know what to do with Asian characters because the stereotypes of Asians that were smart. So they kind of put us in the background or they throw us in the most monogamous relationship usually because they just don't know what to do with us. So I feel like they're starting to come into their own and figure out what to do with the Tina character, especially now that she's a senior. So I'm hoping to see more and more and more of Tina and that she gets more solos because she should. So then we have the whole Kitty just being a bitch scenario again. So I don't quite know what they're doing with this. Because if you remember season one, Quinn was just not quite as mean to Rachel, but she was like really mean to Rachel. So and obviously we all know what happened with that. All of us believed in a Fayberry. I don't see the sexual tension or any. I mean, some people were mentioning it online, I guess, but I don't see it. I have no, and I really do like Marley. She's really growing on me. I'm really rooting for her character. I like her a lot. So we'll just see what they're gonna do with them. And so the last group number at the end is, I think, brilliant. The way that they did it. This is the one song that everybody knows from Grease. You're the one that I want. Hold on, I'm so sorry. Well, I just found out my friend just passed the bar exam on her first try. She's fucking brilliant, so I'm really excited for her. So 1 second. Okay. Anyway, um, that's amazing. She's one smart cookie. Anyway, you're the one that I want. The reason why I found this so exciting is like the way that they did it, because we got to see the old kids sing it and beat it, and then the new kids singing it and beat it. So I thought that was a pretty amazing idea, revolutionary almost, because I keep missing seeing the old kids together. Heck, I don't. I have to go back and look if they threw Mercedes in there and Sam because they didn't focus on them, but they broke it down by couple in this instance. So we got to see, Rachel as Sandy and Finn as Danny Zuko. Then we got to see Brittany and Santana. They had their little interactions. We saw Kurt and Blaine in their little interactions. We saw Tina and Mike in their interactions. So I thought that was a pretty awesome way to end the episodes, pretty much. Um, like I thought that was great because you could see like Rachel remembering the time when her and Finn, when she was pursuing Finn and scared the shit out of him, singing "You're the one that I want," and Finn's like, "What the fuck," and you get to see how much they've grown as characters. So I thought that that was awesome. I think Heather's face whenever she dances is just hysterical. Like, ugh, love her so much. So then, we come to find out that like Rachel and Finn have a little confrontation. I'm sorry, I'm gonna turn off my phone. It's ridiculous. I think she mass texted everybody that she passed, so I'll just talk to her later. Um, her and Finn have a on one in the hallway, and like, this is why I just don't like, you know, so basically, Rachel's upset after seeing Finn perform, or just whatever and it makes her remember of that time. Um, so she calls Brody, and who fucking picks up her phone but Cassandra July. And so we can all assume that they slept together based on the way that things are. She's in a bed, there's wine, there's candles, you hear a shower going. I think it's safe to say that they supposedly slept together, which You know, people have said that's scandalous. It's bringing back the whole when Puckerman slept with Rachel's mom, but actually, it's not that unheard of. I mean, first of all, they're consenting adults at this point, and while it is scandalous, it's not unheard of. So, I'm not as outraged as I was when freaking Puckerman was sleeping with, you know, fuck, why can't I remember her name? Uh, Oh, Shelby Cochran. So anyway, so she calls Brody to try to get advice from him, and Brody's unavailable. So Cassandra July takes this as an opportunity to basically be like a fucking bitch to Rachel, and trying to be like, well, I just taught you one of life's lessons. Life sucks, And I think obviously this goes to the fact that she's jealous of Rachel, because Rachel reminds her so much of herself as a young ingenue, bright-eyed in the city, when the world was her oyster, she had all these possibilities, and then she goes and fucks it up, and now she's like this, you know, dried up, washed out star, and left to teach at Nyada because that's all she could do. So I think that's her point. I think the thing that's so stunning that makes me angry is the way that she puts down Rachel, and Rachel just takes it because that is not. That's the other thing too. I feel like they forget the Rachel that they presented to us. Rachel has always known who she was. She's always known she's going to be a star. She took a hit when she screwed up her audition for Nyada, but at the end of the day, we always know that Rachel was always confident in herself and her ability and her talent. So I that it makes me angry that she could get. I mean, yeah, people say mean things and it'll make you feel sad, but like I didn't want Rachel to cry. Like it just made me sad. So of course she's coming running out of the bathroom, and then she runs into Finn in the hallway, and it starts out kind of cute, like Rachel congratulates Finn on doing such a great job directing, and then he's like, yeah, well, I think you're my moose, basically meaning she's his muse. But he says, oh, I know, I just wanted to make you smile. And then he recognizes she's been crying, and apparently there's 4 different Rachel cries, and he knows them all. And then she tries to be the nice person and says, I don't want to talk about it. And then, I guess he's not as, dumb as he looks, as he puts it all together and realizes she was crying over Brody. And then douchebag Finn reappears. Like, I just don't get, yeah. So he makes an appearance. He was the one who said, well, what, we can't be friends? And then by the end of this conversation, he goes, we should just never speak to each other. When you come home for holidays, just don't talk to me. What an asshole. So then the last part is Mr. Schue's about to leave McKinley. So basically he's handing Finn the keys to the kingdom, quote unquote. And I think it's interesting how the way that they make Finn seem like older, which it does work, is that they put him in a suit and tie, just like they make Mr. Schuester wear a suit and tie or get more dressed up for performances. And in all actuality, I mean, Cory Monteith is like, I think, closer to Matt Morrison's age. I think Matt Morrison is 33, and Finn is in his late 20s for sure. He's older than Leah. So he looks more like, his age. He's not wearing that rugby striped shirt that he keeps wearing every single season. So I guess that's basically trying to separate him as being an adult, mentoring these children now, who are supposedly sophomores, so that makes them like, what, 14, 15-year-olds? And he's 18 supposedly. I still find the whole idea far-fetched, but whatever, this is Glee. You slap on a tie and a suit on somebody, and then that makes them an adult, I guess. And he looks kind of like, don't worry, Mr. Schue, I got this in the bag. But then Mr. Schue leaves, and now Finn realizes, like, what the fuck, I am in charge. How the fuck is this supposed to happen? Um, the other point, I don't know if anybody realizes this, because I know that all of us want ships to happen. Like, I want Heather and I to be together in real life. I want Leah and Diana to be together in real life, but we know that that's not happening. But the sheer fact that Corey and Leah are together in real life, I feel like when I watch them run scenes together, I have the most difficult time teasing out, separating the two, because it's so hard. Like, when they're fighting, like, I feel like I'm watching a fight between Corey and Leah. Like, I get uncomfortable. And this is the same thing when I see couples who act together on screen and off screen, they're together. Like, I feel like I'm intruding in their own personal lives. I understand that they're actors, they're reading a script, but I just feel like I'm personally intruding on their space or whatever. So this video is now, 49 minutes long, so I'm going to try to wrap up the one brief interaction that we got with Santana and Brittany, because to me that was the most important part of this whole freaking episode that led up to the Rizzo solo. So, hold on one second. Yeah, I guess I'm a lush, but it's only 7 ounces, so it's fine. I need to like talking this much makes my throat dry. So anyway, the we get the after Santana's gonna be Rizzo, the next scene that we see is Brittany coming up behind her and giving her a hug, and that just melted my heart. I feel like there is just you can't. It's undeniable. How could you not see the chemistry between these two? And I think I don't understand how. I mean, I don't. Hold on 1 second. Just let me get the right thread here because I wrote. Excuse me, that's just rude. Okay, here. So the way that she comes up behind Santana, gives her a hug, it's just like such an intimate hug. Like it's not just normal hug. Like there's a difference to it, and the way that their faces melt to each other, and Brittany takes a seat next to her and says that I miss you, and the way that she even says it, like the tone in her voice is like so soft, and then Santana goes I miss you too, and so you're like, oh, see, they still love each other. They still love each other. Like, come on, just put them back together. Um, and then, hold on 1 second. I know I wrote, hold on, no. 1 second. I wrote something important down. Okay. So we get the whole conversation between the two of them about, like, postmortem after the breakup. Brittany confesses that she hasn't seen anybody, a boy or a girl, since they broke up. And Santana goes, that doesn't matter. So that could mean many things. It could mean it doesn't matter to me that you would see a boy versus another girl, or, does it, basically, not that it doesn't matter to me, but, like, she's happy that she's not seeing anybody else. But I think it's more the fact that Brittany confessed to her that she hasn't gone out on any dates with boys or girls. So, it's pretty much clear that Brittany is bisexual. And Santana says that fact doesn't matter to her. What matters more to her is the fact that she hasn't seen anybody else. So then they continue on, and so, in their brief little dialogue, Brittany goes, well, aren't you worried about your big performance? I guess it's coming up for solo. And then Santana's like, no, it'll just be like West Side Story. I'll just, hit it out of the ballpark again. And then Brittany's tone of voice changes, and the way that she looks at Santana changes. And this is when I think I see the brilliance behind Brittany, when she does this very small, different change of events. So she goes, she basically says to Santana, yeah, but you're about to sing a sad song, and you're gonna have to think about something sad, like us breaking up, and how that's okay, but it still hurts a little bit. It's most especially on Friday nights because that was our date night, right? And then she just leaves Santana there. She gets up, whispers good luck to her, and like basically like has her hand dragged behind just to pat her on the back, and now Santana kind of like, what? Oh, yeah, like just shocked. And the next scene we see is her on stage shooting, I guess, Rizzo solo. I do recall that Stockard Channing, the actress, portrayed Rizzo in the movie musical, and she did an amazing job. I love Stockard Channing, and I think Santana Naya does an awesome job. Anything I think Naya does is amazing, but I kind of wish they didn't make. I understand why they cut up this whole solo into having Wade Unique Adams sing because since he didn't get to be Rizzo, so let's throw him a bone and sing. I understand why they let Cassandra July and Brody be in it because that advanced the whole plot of Cassandra scheming this whole time to get Brody, to piss off Rachel, which is like, come on, you're like a fucking like professor supposedly. You're gonna be that petty? Like, God, this is horrible. I just thought that was horrible. Like, I just don't understand like why they're doing that at all. Anyway, so dissecting the actual song and the lyrics itself is very telling. You get more Britana interaction then if you want to see it that way. You can see that Britney's kind of off to the sideline, waiting in the wings, watching Santana perform. And so there's certain lines in the song that she says, like in the beginning, she talks about how she could wait around for Mr. Right, and then the camera goes right to Britney, talk because basically the song is like I guess talking about I don't remember. I mean, I remember Rizzo sort of, but not quite the whole story. But anyway, um, I just think that I really wish they just let Santana sing the whole goddamn song because she's supposed to be Rizzo. So let her have the solo. But of course that's me being selfish. But anyway, I love like there's that line. Hold on one second. I'm just leaving the last two notes on my pages and I'm done. Um, I guess the song is called "The Worst Thing I Could Do." I think is the title of the song. So you just have to pay attention and watch when Santana is actually looking towards the direction of Britney. And she does it in specific strategic points of the song. Um, the last part she goes, or the last line I'm paraphrasing here is like, she says, "But to cry in front of you." She looks directly at Britney, and Santana just has this look of pain, like to cry in front of her would be the worst thing that she could do. And then she looks at Britney again. So I think, Britney's being brilliant here because she's making Santana think again. That's what happened in Hurt Locker when that whole thing went down. It made Santana have to realize her actions and the way she's been acting, and it had to make her change. So since I felt that their breakup was so one-sided and basically it just happened to Britney, and Britney basically was sobbing and crying mess in front of her, and Santana, while she shed a tear, she wasn't as like sobbing over it as much as Britney was. So we also know that like Santana always maintains that tough exterior, you know. So even though we know that Brittany gets to see her at her most vulnerable, we still know that she has a hard side to her, and it's really hard to let anybody in, even when it is Brittany. So I think that line was significant when she goes, "But to cry in front of you, that's the worst thing I could do." It just kind of juxtaposes the last time we saw them together when Santana said that they were breaking up, and Brittany just lost it, crying, sobbing in front of her. And now we have Brittany being the strong one, saying like, "Yeah, we broke up, and it's okay, but it still hurts." Kind of trying to teach Santana a lesson. Like, is this really what you want? Like, we both love each other. I think out of all the couples that I saw, to them, they had the most love because Kurt was like basically just told Kurf to go fuck. I mean, he told Blaine to go fuck off because you cheated. Like, I can't trust you, so we're done. Yay, good for you, Kurt. I'm happy that you did that. But I feel like with Brittany and Santana, it's so evident that they still love each other. Um, you know, it's just, they just love each other so much. The other thing that I honestly did not see the Cassandra Brody thing coming until this song, and I couldn't believe that they did that, and that just it will make everybody hate Brody that much more. I think Brody was a pretty likable guy. He was supposed to be Rachel's new knight in shining armor, because apparently she needs to be rescued every time. But now that he supposedly slept with Cassandra July, we'll have to see how that all happens. I know a lot of people had mentioned that they didn't really see that Britana only got one scene, but you have to remember that's usually what we get anyway. So the fact that we even got one is amazing. The fact that they spoke is amazing. And I think that you just have to remember back to when they weren't, we didn't know that they were together. They had to deal with subtle looks and longing looks, and longing glasses, and you have to kind of read between the lines and see the innuendos that they're acting, because it's all there. It was all there in that performance, the way that they looked at each other, the subtle, like even in the Sugar Shack, or whatever the hell, the last moments of the scene, the way they act goofy toward each other, like that's them being them. I think, and it just makes me wish that in real life Heather and Naya are together, really. Um, what else do I have to say? I think that might be because now this is coming on a whole hour. I apologize. I don't really expect anybody else to watch this whole thing for an hour. I don't even know if I'm going to rewatch it again and see what the hell I've been talking about for almost an hour. But I just want to point out a couple more things and I will be signing off. So next week's episode is the superhero episode. I don't quite know what's going on with that. I have a feeling we won't get a lot of the seniors, graduating seniors in it, from the looks of it. But apparently they're all dressed up as superheroes, and that looks interesting. One of the lines Brittany says is like she's a human brain or she's a brain, which makes fun of the fact, they still think that Brittany is an imbecile when she's not. She's the unicorn, as Santana has said. She is brilliant in her own way. I just want to say thanks again for listening to me rant and rave about Glee. I thought it was much improved from last week's episode, but then again, to me, the worst episode probably ever in the history of Glee. So they didn't have that much to, impress upon to make it better. Um, I love musicals. I might have to go watch Grease now just to remind myself of this whole how it's supposed to go. So anyway, at least we get a new episode again next week. Super excited about that. So I just want to say thanks again for watching, and feel free to follow me. I'm on Tumblr, and I also write some fan fiction, mostly Britana Heya, but I just started writing a new one that's focused on Fayberry A Shell. So feel free to check them out. I'll leave the links down in the show more link. And other than that, I'd have to say peace out, homies. Till we meet again next week. Yeah, take care. Bye.